President Trump's trade war is now hanging by a thread after a flurry of court activity. As we speak, the White House is doing a victory lap.
On CNN tonight, Aaron Burnett dives into the explosive aftermath of President Trump's reinstated tariffs and how they are tearing apart small businesses. One business owner, David Levi, is suing the Trump administration, revealing the devastating impact on his toy company. Let's break this down together.
After a federal appeals court reinstated Trump's sweeping tariffs that a lower court had paused just 24 hours ago. I want to be clear, though, that the ruling from the appeals court was not based on the merit of Trump's tariffs. It wasn't saying, oh, okay, you're right. It was done just out of process, just to allow all of this to work its way through the courts. And they only came after a federal judge in a separate case ordered a temporary halt to many of Trump's tariffs. Now, that judge ruling in favor of 2 Illinois toy companies that claim they're getting crushed by Trump's tariffs. And these cases are just the...
This statement highlights the escalating legal battles surrounding Trump's tariffs, exposing a larger trend of uncertainty that small businesses face in a chaotic economic landscape. It's a stark reminder of how policy decisions can ripple through the economy, leaving entrepreneurs vulnerable.
Beginning. The Just Security legal analysis, led, of course, by Ryan Goodman, has done the count, looked at this in all of these different courts, saying that there are at least 6 cases involving Trump tariffs making their way through the court system as we speak. So the courts are going to be weighing in regularly from here on out, and that is going to affect the daily whiplash. And it's not just Trump's trade war that is in jeopardy, because this is bigger than that, right? These tariffs are bigger than that. Trump sold the trade war as the center of his entire agenda.
It's our declaration of economic independence. We are finally putting America first. This will be indeed the golden age of America. We're going to have a country that you can be proud of. We've gone from a laughingstock 6 months ago to the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Well, now Trump's entire economic agenda is in flux, and companies are struggling.
The gravity of this admission cannot be overstated. It reveals that the very foundation of Trump's promises is crumbling under the weight of legal challenges, putting countless jobs and livelihoods at risk. And the stakes are high, and the fallout is just beginning to unfold.
So what are Republicans in Congress doing? What are they doing about it? Tariffs could come to them. What are they going to do? Well, today they were bending over backwards to show their loyalty, their fealty to Trump. One House Republican today introduced legislation to rename the Washington, D.C. Metro the Trump train. That is not an Onion headline. Literally, they want to name it the Trump train. They're introducing legislation in the United States Congress to do that. And they add to that legislation that has been introduced by Republicans to rename Dulles Airport after Trump, to carve his face on Mount Rushmore, and to create a new $250 bill with, you can guess whose face on it. And one more thing, to make his birthday, which falls on Flag Day, a new federal holiday, saying that he couldn't share President's Day with everyone else. Kristen Holmes is out front live outside the White House. And, Kristen, when it comes to these, what's going on with the trade war, you've got the stunning admission from Scott Bessent moments ago that trade talks with China have stalled, as the administration is saying that no matter what the courts do, they have other ways to push ahead with their tariffs if they lose the lawsuit, other ways. Now, you have been reporting on this all day on what they're going to do. What are you learning?
Aaron, I wish I could tell you the definitive answer, but everyone I have asked has said that, yes, we have options, but they have not divulged what exactly those options would be to circumvent the courts. For example, Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was asked about this. She didn't give any details, but she said not only were they willing to, but they were prepared to go to the Supreme Court and ask for emergency interference. We heard from Kevin Hassett, who is the National Economic Council director. He said there were 3 to 4 other options that they were looking into, but when pressed on those options, he said that they were optimistic that they weren't going to need to use them, that they were going to win on appeal. Peter Navarro also saying, of course, we are looking into other ways around all of this. When asked, so you have a plan B, he said, we have a plan B, but it's really a plan A, inferring that actually this was all about them believing they were going to win on appeal. Now, when it comes down to it, I do believe that they are going to come up with other options only because of what you said. This is at the heart part of Donald Trump's agenda. He has sold so much, put so much into these trade wars, into these tariffs, into what this means for the economy, that his administration is going to have to come up with a legal workaround to try and get this through. Otherwise, that would be a huge blow to his entire agenda. So how they're exactly going to do that, we're going to continue pressing, trying to come up with these answers. But right now, they feel, as you said, that they are winning. They had this appeals court ruling that restored the fact that he could levy these tariffs, and so they are in a good place. But this is only temporary, Aaron.
All right, Kristen, thank you very much. And temporary and all these other court cases wending their way through the courts. Let's go now to David Levi. He is one of the business owners who filed that tariff lawsuit against Trump that set all of this off. So truly, David, you're the one at the heart of this, the butterfly's wing, right? That fluttered, and now here we are. I know you've got a business that makes educational musical toys. You're in Charlottesville, Virginia, where you have built your small business. And I know, though, that many of your components are imported from China, as well as other countries. Your attorney, Riley Stevens, is here as well. So I really appreciate having both of you. David, let me start with you, though, because the trade court ruled in your favor, right? I talked about you as the butterfly's wing. It started, you get the ruling in your favor. Then today, an appeals court temporarily says, hold on, we're going to let Trump's tariffs go ahead as this all works its way through the courts. So does that concern you?
Well, that's part of the checks and balances system. It means that when there is a final decision, it's going to be a decision that sticks and that I can actually plan my business forward with. These last 2 months, they felt much longer than 2 months. We've seen the tariffs go up, down, sideways. I've been petrified. I haven't been able to plan my business. If the tariffs get too high, I have to stop producing my little science kits in America, think about getting like Europe to build my kits and maybe sell my products to Europeans. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of emotions. I'm definitely in the short term exhausted, but given the motion and given all these positive comments I've received in the last few hours, I'm definitely long term optimistic about being able to make my science kits in America.
So, which I mean, I think what you just said there, just to emphasize, you're saying that an outcome here, a possible outcome, is that you would make your kits in Europe and sell them in Europe. So an American small business would move to Europe and sell to Europeans. That is a loss. And I think anybody would agree that's a loss.
David Levi's blunt acknowledgement of potential business relocation to Europe starkly illustrates the tangible consequences of tariffs. This isn't just about numbers. It's about real people and families affected by political maneuvers. The reality is hitting hard, and it's time for change.
The administration, though, David says they've got workarounds, that hey, even if you win, that they will find a way to put these tariffs on anyway. The White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett spoke about it today. Here's what he said.
There are 3 or 4 other ways to do it. There are different approaches that would take a couple of months to put these in place and using procedures that have been approved in the past.
So, what does that mean? I mean, I know you've got 60% of your components coming from China, and Treasury Secretary says talks with China are stalled, but they said they've got these 3 or 4 other ways to do this. What does that even mean to you?
That means I get to have a lot of emotions continuously. I'm just going to do the best I can to make as many kits as I can this year. I was planning on making 20,000 little synthesizers and theremin kits this year. Because of tariffs, I haven't been able to order parts, so I'm definitely going to have shortages. I'm going to try to order more parts soon, but yeah, I'm definitely going to have shortages. I definitely need to think about how to just make sure I have enough cash in my business to survive however long this instability is, so that I have the ability to restart my business when things are better. But I am feeling optimistic with this last motion, even though, yeah.
So Riley, can I ask you, when you listen to David talk about trying to tread water to stay in business, right, as all this works its way through the courts, and now you've got the ruling in your favor, you've got the temporary stay. How long does it take for this to get, I suppose, to the Supreme Court and get a decision?
So it remains.
As David Levi's lawsuit unfolds, it's clear that the implications of Trump's tariffs extend far beyond political rhetoric. They strike at the heart of American entrepreneurship. This chaos raises critical questions about the future of small businesses in our economy. What do you think? Is it time for new leadership? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.